Mantis Rider. We kill it, but we're gonna have to exile a card. I don't think it's worth it. Gets and hits us. Oh! Now it's worth it. Oh, now it's very worth it. Oh boy, now it's... Oh, the tech! The tech worked! This might be a concession. Force of Despair. Diagraph Captain? Got him! Yes! Need some new Zendikar Rising cards? You can get them today from our sponsor, Card Kingdom. Just head over to cardkingdom.com. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Much Abrew About Nothing. And this week, we got a sweet Modern deck to play. This is Blue-Black Zombies, and I'm really excited for this one, because if you think about zombie decks in Modern, we've seen some, like, Lord-heavy beatdown decks, where you're just trying to curve out, attack, attack, attack. We've seen some carrion feeder, kind of sacrifice synergy zombie decks, which are more like Aristocrat-style decks. Well, this deck kind of mashes it all together. So we have a shell that can attack and win with the zombie Lord beatdown plan. We can also chip it for some early damage, and then kind of Aristocrat sacrifice combo kill as well. So it mashes together every sweet thing about zombies. So we're going to take it through a league, see how it works. Before we do, let's break down the deck real quick. So Diagraph Captain is kind of emblematic of what this blue-black zombie deck is about. It's a 3-mana Lord, so it helps with the beatdown plan, but it also has an extra ability where whenever another zombie dies, we get to drain our opponent for 1. They lose 1 life. So this allows us to pump our team and go on that aggressive attacking plan, but it also works with our kind of synergistic Aristocrat plan for closing out the game with direct damage. So as far as the beatdown plan, we got a ridiculous amount of 1-drops. We got Grave Crawlers, we got Dread Wanderers, both recursive. We have Carrion Feeder, which can get pretty big from sacrificing thing, and as a sacrifice outlet for the Aristocrat plan. A couple of Crypt Breakers for value. Also worth mentioning that Carrion Feeder with Gravecrawler is kind of a combo, because we can sacrifice Gravecrawler to grow Carrion Feeder, and then we can just recast Gravecrawler, because Carrion Feeder is a zombie. If we have something like Diagraph Captain out, we're also hitting our opponent for 1 as we do that, so that's where you can kind of see the Aristocrat plan start to come to fruition, and when you see the rest of the deck, it gets even better. We have Plague Belcher, which is essentially another Diagraph Captain, in the sense that whenever another zombie dies, we get to drain for 1, so we can stack multiples of that effect. We got Geralf's Messenger, which drains for 2 when it comes into play, and then has Undying, so when it dies, it comes back into play. So this gives us even more damage with the sacrifice plan. Soul Diviner, really sweet in this deck. It removes counters from, like, Geralf's Messenger to reset the Undying, so we can sacrifice it again and get even more drain. And then Undead Augur is just our engine. Whenever a zombie we control dies, we get to draw a card and lose a life. So if we throw like that Gravecrawler Carrion Feeder combo into the mix with Undead Augur, then we're drawing a ton of cards, along with maybe draining our opponent with Diagraph Captains, Plague Belchers, etc., etc., etc. Otherwise, Murderous Rider, Fatal Push give us some removal. Murderous Rider also happens to be a zombie, so it's Odd Tribe. Village Rites, a little bit of card draw, another way to sacrifice things. As far as the mana, we have Aether Vial to cheat things into play, Aghanim Awakening, mostly a land, but occasionally reanimates a bunch of zombies. Otherwise, pretty straightforward blue-black stuff. Some fetch lands, fast lands, shock lands, a Castle Lockwood for more card draw, Cavern of Souls to fight against the counter spell decks. In the sideboard, kind of an interesting sideboard plan. We get a bunch more removal. Spark Harvest for creatures or planeswalkers, and sacrificing. Feed the Swarm can get rid of things like Rest in Peace, which are good against our sacrifice plan. Force of Despair, kind of a weird removal spell, but can be pretty effective if we can get multiple creatures with it, maybe for free by exiling the back card. Bantu's Last Arcade is harass some counter spells, Ether Gust, and that is Blue-Black Zombies. Kind of sacrifice / beatdown zombies for Modern. That's our Much Abrew deck for this week. Let's jump into a league, see some zombies in action. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll be back in a bit with the wrap up. All right, Much Abrew About Nothing time. We are zombieing in Modern. Modern Blue-Black Zombie Tribal, and so it's fine. We got the Augurs. So, protection from removal to some extent. We got an Aether Vial. No 1-drops, no real, like, synergy pieces, but, we'll see. We'll see. See what our opponent's doing. Hopefully something fair-ish. This hand does not seem very good against an unfair deck. Also, Thoughtseize on turn 1 would make us sad. Snow-covered plains. Alright, so probably some sort of Death and Taxes deck, I would assume. Fatal Push is not bad. Well, Swamp, Aether Vial, you. Oh, you better not Mana Tithe this. About it. Forest. And Oh, it's a land stack. Okay. Well, take up the vial. Do we have to just kill this? We probably do, don't we? Yeah, I think we do. Alright. Fatal Push, Reclaimer. It's too risky that our opponent could play a Flagstones and go, like, ramp crazy next turn. This slows down our development a bit, but it's fine. We can start vialing stuff in next turn. Vesuva on Watery Grave. Interesting, okay. Huh. They want the Watery Grave? Alright, opponent passes. Well, I'll take up the Vial. Vial with Soul Diviner is kind of a cute little combo. I'll play a Swamp, play Undead Augur, and Dreadwander, and chip the turn. Well, here comes the zombies. The beatdown's coming. Slowly, but surely. Ooh, Eladrami's Call. Alright, what is our opponent getting? More Reclaimers. Alright, opponent really wants this Reclaimer. I mean, we'd always Murderous Rider if we have to. Dryad. Well, if our opponent can ramp into, like, Primeval Titan, that's bad news. Blast Zone. Reclaimer. Well, Ether Vial. Soul Diviner. Untap. Let's Vial in the Augur. Put a counter on our Ether Vial. I'll murder the Dryad. And yeah, attack with everything. Gotta get in the damage. Kill our opponent, hopefully, before a Primeval Titan comes down. I mean, we can start drawing cards next turn, but will that be enough? Once our opponent starts making zombies with Field of the Dead, we're going to be in a bit of a tough spot. Opponent passes. Well, Vial can stay on 3. I'll go to combat. Attack. Alright, opponent's going to block. Sacks a land. I mean, they can't turn on this Reclaimer, right? Gets a Flagstones. Paths. Sure. So opponent's just trying to set up for Primeval Titan next turn. Ugh. Well, let's see if we can find a way out of this. So opponent's getting their ramp on. Opponent drops to 8. Let's play Gravecrawler. Village Rites Gravecrawler. Draw 4 cards. Oh, we're so close. Get back Gravecrawler. Polluted Delta. Crack Polluted Delta. Get a Swamp. Carrion Feeder. Pass the turn. Oh, we're really close to winning. Oh, we're so... I think we'd win through a Primeval Titan with direct damage now. We'll see what our opponent can do. As long as our opponent can't literally win here. Alright, that's fine. That's fine. It's a Primeval Titan, but we can beat this. We can even beat it making zombies, because we have this Plague Belcher and Giralf's of all things. Weird cards to be excited about, but they are exactly what we need at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can get a Field of the Dead in something else to have... Okay, this works. Field of the Dead Flagstones. Flagstones dies, gets another land, makes a zombie, but none of this actually matters because we have, like, the Zombie Aristocrat skill. Yeah. Opponent, Temple Garden. Zombie. Sure. Opponent passes. We will Vial in Giralf's Messenger. Drain you. Untap. Vial in Plague Belcher. Put the counters on Giralf's Messenger. Draw a bunch of cards. And, I mean, this is just game. Draw, draw, draw. Comes back. Hits ya. Vial. Sure, tick it up. Plague Belcher. Counters on Giralf's Messenger. Sack Giralf's Messenger. Get a bunch of triggers. And that should be game. Drain you. Drain you. Drain you. And kill ya. Oh, that was pretty impressive. That was a really good example of what this deck can do. We didn't get off to the fastest beatdown start, but once we get going, we have these weird, sneaky synergies where we can Plague Belcher to get the counters off Messenger to drain you with stuff like Diagraph Captain, and with Plague Belcher, and then remove the counter with Soul Divider to draw a card and do it again. So there's these weird synergies built up that make the deck pretty resilient, honestly. What do we have that's good against Primeval Titan? So I guess we want 2 Ether Gus. 2 Ether Gus. And I guess I could see an argument for Spark Harvest. Maybe? Force of Despair is also kind of cute. That does get rid of a Primeval Titan, and technically the zombies that it makes. I mean, I think we need the games to play out basically like last game, where we need to get in some early damage and then try to win with the Aristocrat plan, essentially. So I think let's just bring in 2 Ether Gus. Go down what? We can probably go down like a Dread Wanderer and and let's just go down 2 Dread Wanderers. That's fine. Run it like that. We still got a bunch of 1-drops. Dread Wanderer is the worst of the bunch. We could bring in the Force of Despairs, but I don't think we want to play too much for trying to stop the zombies on like turn 20. That's not going to be successful. Instead, we want to be trying to chip in for early damage and then get the drain kill. This hand actually looks pretty good. We have 1-drops, early aggressive 1-drops, card draw, and our little drain combo, and technically 2 lands, so I think we're in business. And our opponent's mulliganing, which doesn't hurt. I guess we're going to need 1 more land. We don't have the Ether Vial this time, so we are going to need 1 more land, because we actually got to cast our cards. What's that all about? Oh, zombies. Flagstones for our opponent, and passes. Well, Darksilk Shores, and Carrion. Yeah, Carrion Feeder. We don't really want to get Gravecrawler pathed. Gravecrawler, Carrion Feeder, Undead Augur is a little card draw combo that we'd like to keep assembled. Opponent passes. Well, Aghanim's Awakening, untapped. Go to combat. Hit our opponent. 4-1. Play a Gravecrawler. Play a Carrion Feeder. Pass the turn. Oh, come on, land. Come on, land. Opponent. Ooh. Ooh, that's actually super annoying. All right. Yeah, that's really bad for us. Bounce Lad. Well, now we're going to have to do it fairly. Ooh, we draw the land, though, which is nice. Well, Drell's Messenger. Burn ya. Attack ya. Down to 13. This does make us much weaker to our opponent actually getting to zombies, though. Because we can't finish them with burn like we did last game, or like sacrifice synergies. Opponent passing. We untap. Well, let's play Geralf's Messenger. Drain ya. Go to combat. Attack ya. Alright. Well, so we'll sack the Messenger. Hit our opponent for 5. No! No, no, no. Alright. Hit our opponent for 3. Down to 7. Or for 4, down to 7. Oh, this is close. Those 2 Celestial Purges were very good for our opponent. This better not be a Dryad. Oh, that would be so bad. Opponent. Elvish Reclaimer. Kind of a non-bow with Rest in Peace. And passes. So if we attack with everything, opponent's got to block. 4, 5, 6. Well, I think our best bet's just to Diagraph Captain. Go to combat. Swing with everything. Wow, they really have another removal spell. All right. Well, opponent still has to chump block. So we still should be in okay shape. Opponent's empty-handed, but they had triple removal spells. It's not enough, though. They had the Rest in Peace, triple removal spells, and I don't think that's going to be enough for them to pick up this win. They can't cast a Primeval Titan, they can't make zombies, they can't draw a Dryad and a land, and zombies. Showing their power against the lands deck. All right, that was a good one. That was sweet. This deck is sweet. I like the synergies. I like the beatdown combined with like Aristocrat's plan. You've seen like Aristocrat zombie decks. We've seen beatdown zombie decks. I like how this smashes it together. You put them all together, you get the beatdowns, you get a little Lord action, and you have the sweet Aristocrat combo finish. All right, not bad. Not bad at all. Sweet. All right. Much ado about nothing time. It is zombie time in Modern, and we're leaning pretty hard on the Ether Vial, but I think this is the kind of one-lander that we could keep. One land, one keep, as the kids say. I mean, if this Ether Vial goes, we probably go with it. But I think it's fine. I mean, it's a good hand, and we do have some synergies to draw cards and hit lands. Cavern on human? Human. All right. Well, the classic battle that we've seen in infinite horror movies. Humans versus zombies. Well, take up the vial. I mean, we wouldn't mind just drawing a land. Alright, so we will play a Undead Augur. And pass the turn. Opponent. Ancient Ziggurat. And Reflector Mage. Alright, that's fine. So opponent's going to bounce our Augur, but this isn't really that big of a deal because we can just Vial it in. So Vial in Carrion Feeder. I don't think we sack. Yeah, we're not going to sack it. Sure. So take up Vial. Worst case, we can start drawing cards. So Diagraph Captain, we will put a Undead Augur into play. Take that, Reflector Mage. Yeah. And then we can cast a Gravecrawler. Sack Gravecrawler. Draw a card. That's a lot of Diagraph Captains. Gravecrawler. Go to combat. Attack you. I think we're greedy enough to sack again. Sack Gravecrawler. Okay, we draw the land. That's good. Hit our opponent. Play the land. Get back the Gravecrawler. And now we get to start lording off of this Ether Vial, which should be pretty good. Opponent, another Ziggurat. We don't really have good blocking at the moment, but we have good offense. If we draw a blue source, we could double lord. That would be pretty sweet. Otherwise, we can Vial in a lord and just cast Giralf's Messenger, maybe? Or go back to our Carrion Feeder card draw combo, which does get better with a lord out to start draining. Diagraph Captain's a pretty decent lord. The combo of being a lord and also like an aristocrat payoff is pretty nice. Phantasmal Image on Reflector Mage. Gonna bounce our Carrion Feeder. That's a smidge awkward. Yeah, let's sack Gravecrawler, draw a card. Yup. Carrion Feeder bounced. Alright, Freebooter doesn't actually do anything against our hand at the moment. It does give our opponent some information, which is somewhat helpful, but there's Freebooter. Opponent gets a peek, and then we dropped to 13. I'm not 100% sure if we're winning this race or not. Opponent gets and hits us. Sure. So down to 13. Well, we untap. Take up Vial to 3, which is a pretty good number at the moment. We draw a Swamp. 1, 2, 3. I'll go to combat. Attack. Vial in Diagraph Captain. Hit our opponent. Play the Swamp. Get back a Gravecrawler. And yeah, I think we're just going to pass and Murderous Rider or something this turn. If we can stay alive and our opponent doesn't have too much disruption, next turn should be really sweet. Because we can put another Lord into play, and we can Giralf's Messenger and Carrion Feeder to sack everything, and that's a lot of damage. Opponent. Alright, another Freebooter. Sure. Still not really doing much. Do we win next turn? That's a real question. I don't know if we quite do. It's going to be close. It's going to be super close. Opponent. Thalia's Lieutenant. Okay. So that resolves. Opponent grows the Dorks. Goes to combat. Full on attack. 3, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Well, now I think we're definitely going for the win. So we'll just take our beats. Down to 5. No blocks. I think we get the Aristocrat kill, so we get to Murderous Rider, Kite Sail Freebooter. Down to 3. Untap. Vial stays on 3. Then we Vial in Diagraph Captain. We Giralf's Messenger. Hit you. Carrion Feeder. Go to combat. Attack with everything. Opponent goes to 5. Alright, so we have to first sacrifice Undead Augur, or else it'll kill us. And then we got it. So get rid of Undead Augur, draw a card. Drain you, sacrifice Giralf's Messenger, drain you, and zombies coming through. Whew. Alright, that was another good one. The ability to finish the game with direct damage makes this build so sweet. Alright, opponent's humaning. Against humans, we got some spice. Bantu's Last Reckoning. Do we want Force of Despair? I wonder if it's worth it. Little worse against Ether Vial. There are turns where we can get multiple creatures, though. Oh, do we try it? I think we try it. We will. All right, we'll trim a Soul Diviner. We'll trim a Dread Wanderer. We'll trim a... Dread Wanderer and Plague Belcher. We gotta try it. Like, if there was ever a matchup where Force of Despair was gonna be sweet, this is probably one. Well, all right. We'll see. We'll see if it works. We have our super secret tech. Can we get a Force of Despair blowout? I mean, it is a card that people do not expect. So hopefully, we'll get a turn where our opponent just plays like 2 or 3 things, and we get them all. Otherwise, this hand's not bad. We got our Vial. Got a bunch of zombies. Opponent probably took their freebooters out, I would think. They were so bad last game, they were whiffing. Whiffing and whiffing. Cavern on Merfolk. Let's see Merfolk. Oh, human again. All right. Probably a good call for our opponent's deck. Ooh, they kept a Vial. Interesting. Well, they mulligan quite a bit. I feel like Vial's a little bit worse on the mulligan, because you kind of just need action. But we also have a Vial. Go. Opponent. Taking up the Vial. It's also possible on the mulligan that they just kept not many lands to go with the Vial, which would make it better. Enclave territory. And... is this another... They have another Vial? Oh, it's so bad. Opponent. Passing. Well, take up the Vial. No blue mana for that yet. Well, Castle Hogwain. Go. Opponent. Taking up the Vial. Horizon Canopy. Uh-huh. That's pretty good art. And Mantis Rider. Oh, that is awkward. I'm not sure it's worth... We kill it, but we're going to have to exile a card? I don't think it's worth it. Alright, opponent gets and hits us. Oh! Now it's worth it. Oh, now it's very worth it. Oh, boy, now it's... Oh, the tech! The tech worked! This might be a concession. Force of Despair. Exiling... Digraph Captain? Got him! Yes! Oh, that worked out so well. Opponent passes. Blown out. Take up the... No one plays around it. No one expects it. Take up the Vial. Play the land. Geralf's Messenger. Drain you. Go to combat. Beat you. Down to 16 past the turn. Oh, that was so good. That was definitely worth throwing away a Lord for. I mean, technically it was a 2 for 2. We spent 2 cards to get rid of 2 of our opponent's cards, but I think it was still super worth it. We also have a lot of card draws, so we can afford to throw away some cards now and then. Oh, they did have another Vial. Yeah. And Vial's in. Another Mantis Rider. Sure. Force of Despair, number 2. Found it. Gonna get it and hit us. Down to 17. Sure. Well, Vial in Soul Diviner. Untap. Take up the Vial. Go to combat. Yeah, it's possible we should play the Gravecrawler first. Go to combat. Attack. Opponent takes it. Well, we'll sack Gravecrawler. Get it back, drain you. Remove a counter from Gravecrawler. Or from Geralf's Messenger. Play Gravecrawler. Play Ether Vial. Sack Gravecrawler. Get back Gravecrawler. Pass the turn. Oh, the synergies! The synergies! Found it. Gonna do their Vial stuff. Yeah, we definitely, if we had played the Gravecrawler beforehand, we could have attacked with Carrion Feeder too. So I think that was a slight mistake. I would be surprised if it matters here. I think we're in pretty good shape, but probably could have got in a little bit more damage. Opponent. Relic. Okay. I mean, that does shut down some of our loops. Opponent gets and hits us. Down to 14. Untap. Yeah, let's leave the Vial. Actually, I guess we can take it up. Well, no, let's leave it. Leave it on 3. It's weird because we kind of want the counter to remove with Soul Diviner, but we also want to be able to, like, put a Lord into play. Alright, so... Carrion Feeder. Sack Gravecrawler. If our opponent cracks Relic, that's fine. If they don't crack Relic, this Carrion Feeder can get big. Recast Gravecrawler. Swamp. Gravecrawler. Replay it. An opponent scoops it up. Cannot beat it. Okay. The zombies are... I think the secret is our lands. We have Poto said they drew very bad, and they drew very badly. Double Ether Vial in the mulligan, super brutal. I think the secret is our zombie lands, though. Our lands are giving us power. Sweet. Yeah, deck's not bad. Not bad at all. All right, much brew about nothing time. We are zombieing in Modern. Blue-black aristocratic zombies. And no vial, but we got a good curve. Crypt Breaker into Augur into a Lord, and see what happens. Opponent mulliganing, which either means things are good for us or we're about to lose to Tron. No, there's no middle ground. Crypt Breaker, go. I mean, our deck is pretty fair. We are definitely not an unfair deck. All right. Well, we're not losing to Tron. That's something. Losing to Storm. I feel like our deck is good against fair decks. I don't know if it's good against unfair decks, though. I'm a little more skeptical about the unfair matchups. We'll see. All right, opponent bolts. That's a little unfortunate. Watery Grave, shock ourselves, and Undead Augur. Having our Crypt Breaker die would have been a lot less painful if we had the Undead Augur out to replace it, but Island for our opponent. Go to combat. Attack ya. I think we're going to wait on a Lord. Hit our opponent. Down to 15. Augur part 2. Watery Grave. Untapped. And Gravecrawler. Go. Blood Moon would actually be pretty obnoxious. We've drawn 2 Watery Graves. That'd be really bad. I mean, I guess we're pretty far ahead on board, but... Well, more Fatal Pushes. Let us... Diagraph Captain. Alright, opponent's got a counter. Well, we get to hit you for 6. The beatdown plan's not going too poorly. Next turn, we can actually Fatal Push our Gravecrawler if we want to draw some cards. Opponent. Passes. Ooh. Go to combat. Attack. The problem is we could get got by Emrakul. Hit our opponent. Bolt and Augur. We draw 2. Oh, so many Fatal Pushes. Oh boy, those were bad draws. Well, play Carrion Feeder. Sack Gravecrawler, draw a card. Replay Gravecrawler. Sack it, draw a card. And yeah, replay Gravecrawler. Well, if it's through the Breach Emrakul, we're done. Okay, we might be dodging. If it's not through the Breach Emrakul, opponent scoops it up. Ooh, okay. Well, we got there. The mulligans help. So opponent is... probably a Blood Moon deck. Well, I think we definitely want counter Squalls. For sure. And, so are you assuming it's through the Breach Emrakul? Is that how they're killing us? Let's go down Fatal Pushes. I could see an argument. I don't know if it's a good argument, but I can see an argument for Force of Despair, which technically deals with the Emrakul. Let's try it. I mean, it worked against humans. So maybe it'll work against the Emrakul deck, perhaps too. Can we even keep this? We have 1 land, Ether Vial, and that's all. And let's mulligan. Okay, we'll keep this. I guess Belcher to the bottom. I don't know if this is actually better than our 1-lander. We'll see. Opponent, tap land. And passes. Well, Darkside Shores and a Carrion Feeder. Go. Not the fastest start. Island for our opponent. And we are weak to a Blood Moon. Ooh, more captains. Well, alright. Tap land. Hit you. Oh, please no Blood Moon. Please no Blood Moon. Island. Well, no Blood Moon. Ooh, there's our tech. There's our tech. See if it'll save us. Diagraph Captain. Hit ya. If we actually get to blow out a Emrakul with a Force of Despair, I'm going to be the happiest. Oh, that would be so amazing. Madcap Experiment. Well, alright. Not quite as good as Emrakul, but decent. Play a Diagraph Captain. Hit ya. Down to 10. Opponent needs a sweeper. Or to kill us. Flooded Strand. Well, untap. Go to combat. Cryptic Tap. Okay. But we have Drolf's Messenger. Oh, does our opponent have a Mystical? Oh, wait. Okay. I don't think this does it, though. Messenger resolves. Drains you. We sack Messenger. Combo? Drain you? Wow, Force of Despair has been instrumental in our deck doing well. And we got the GGs. Whoo! Zombies! 3-0! The Force of Despair tech. I'm going to have to start putting Force of Despair in more sideboards because Force of Despair has been really good for us. It'll get worse if people start expecting it, but as long as people are not expecting it, it's pretty insane. All right. Sweet. All right. Much brew about nothing time. We are zombieing. Blue-black zombies, sacrifice zombies, zombie tribal, whatever. In Modern, and yeah, this ends fine. Got a decent curve. I mean, we got an aggressive start. We'll see. We don't really have a payoff for sacking our creatures. I mean, I guess Dreadwonder kind of is, but it's so slow. Well, let's see what our opponent's up to. Hopefully they are actually playing Kenyon Jerboa. If they are, then I will feel good about this matchup. Ooh. Alright, so probably a Death Shadow deck. Oh, Blue to Delta. Crack it. Watery Grave. Untapped. And... I guess we just Dreadwander. Go Abrew. Gotta get the Watery Grave because we need blue, and we want this to come into play untapped. Oh, this could be... Okay, so this is probably Oops All Spells or Belcher, and we're probably dead. Okay. Well, we talked last round about how... Wow, what an insane hand. Ooh, opponent said they drew their third Creeping Chill. Well, maybe they fizzle. Alright, so opponent mills their entire deck. Gets a bunch of stuff. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Alright. Yeah. So we get a 14. Opponent gets... I mean, this is bad news. Bad news for the good guys. So now our opponent, gets back a Salvage Titan. Can sack the swords to get back the Vengevines. Yeah. Alright. Well, we talked last round about how our deck is really good against fair decks, but we weren't sure how it would hold up to unfair decks. Apparently, turn 2 kill on the... Like, we played a Dreadwander. That's it. We played a Savannah Lions, and that was the game. Unfortunately, well, Force of Despair, I guess, is sweet tech, but otherwise we don't have much. Aether Gust doesn't do it. Counter Squall. I mean, I guess we can Counter Squall. I feel like Fatal Pushes are pretty dead. So the reason to Counter Squall is a lot of these decks are now playing Belcher as a backup plan. So if you have Graveyard Hate, then your opponent can go on the Belcher plan. So I guess that's it. We try to Force of Despair after the combo turn, Counter Squall the Belcher, and that's what we got. That's what we got. Yeah, this feels tough. In large part, we're probably hoping our opponent beats themselves and just, like, doesn't have their ideal draw. If our opponent has a draw like they have last game, I guess in theory, Force of Despair has been an all-star. Maybe it's our savior again. But other than that, if our opponent has a draw like last game, there's not a whole lot we can do. Yeah, we don't even have Graveyard Hate, oddly. Although I guess maybe it's okay because our opponent is going to assume that we have Graveyard Hate. So they're probably still going to sideboard as if we have Graveyard Hate. They're also going to expect discard, and we also don't have discard. So they're probably going to sideboard really poorly because because the black staples you would expect to be in our deck are not in our deck. We got them. All it takes is to not play the best black cards in the format, and your opponent has no idea how to sideboard. Alright, we will play first. Like, this is a fine hand, but there's no way it beats the unfairness of this. I guess we keep. Again, not super thrilled with this hand. Our opponent is mulliganing, but that's kind of what their deck does. So we get to turn 1 Aether Vial, turn 2 Carrion Feeder Undead Augur, and then I guess we can draw cards. Oh, Watery Grave untapped. Aether Vial. Pass the turn. Opponent starts with the tap land. Passes. Well, take up the Vial. Castle Lockwade. Undead Augur. ship the turn. All right, tap land. Well, let's put a Carrion Feeder into play. Untap. Let's Carrion Feeder. Then take up our Vial. Go to combat. Attack ya. And, yeah, let's Village Rites a Carrion Feeder. Draw 3. None of those cards were especially helpful. Pass the turn. Well, this is a turn we could die. Well, alright, Charbelcher. Ooh, yeah, so crack this. Watery Grave, Adapt. I mean, we have to draw a counterspell off of this one draw. Ether Vial. Yeah, and now we're dead. I mean, sure. So we don't have a way to get Belcher off the battlefield, and our opponent has the mana, so yeah. Well, we kind of thought that unfair matchups would be a problem, and in that case, the unfair matchup was most definitely a problem. We just don't really have the tools. We don't have Graveyard Hate. We don't have Thought Seizes. Really good against fair decks, not so much against turn 2, turn 3 combo kills. Well, I mean, we've already fed the kids, and we were actually 6-0 before that beatdown, so we'd still finish with a 4-1 if we can take this last round down, so, let's see. All right, on to round 5 with Blue-Black Zombies. Can we finish off strong, get the 4-1? This hand, outside of lacking a true 1-drop, we have a fine hand. Soul Diviner with Drelf's Messenger is a cute little combo. We'll see. I mean, against the fair deck, I like what we got going on. Yeah, we'll see what our opponent's up to. Well, alright. Hallowed Fountain, probably a fair deck. Ether Vial would be sweet. We don't actually have a Cavern in this deck either. So counterspells could be a concern. This Fatal Push is probably bad. Well, Watery Grave tapped. Maybe they're like spirits, or like a weird taxes build. It's possible. Opponent. Some sort of just straight up controls, most likely. Flagstones, sure. Opponent. Oh, so many messengers. Well, we will play Soul Diviner. Go. Yeah, our hand is very remandable. No 1-drop, so we're just playing like 1 card a turn, or our opponent can keep remanding it. Or otherwise countering it. Opponent. Flagstones themselves. Sure. Flagstones is so weird. Flagstones went from being essentially unplayed to being almost a staple in Modern. Opponent plays a Teferi. One of the more annoying cards in Modern. Yeah, if I had known we were up against control, we might have mulliganed for a bit more aggressive of a hand. This is a hand that's very resilient against other creature decks. Messenger's great. Fatal Push is good. But against a mostly creature-free control deck, that's a bit of an issue. No 1-drops to start forcing the issue, giving our opponent a ton of time to set things up. Well, Drelf's Messenger. Are we getting Cryptic commanded? Looks like yes. Oh boy. Yeah. Well, we also lost the die roll, which makes things harder in these matchups. Gives our opponent a lot more time to get things set up and going. We do have our Castle Lock Wayne, which, if we ever can get empty-handed, can generate some card advantage. Opponent. Untaps. Takes up Teferi. Mystical Sanctuary. Oh boy. Everyone's favorite magic card. I hate this card with a passion. Oh, Wizards. Wizards, why? I might hate Mystic Sanctuary more than Tron Lands, and that's saying something, because if you know me, I really hate Tron Lands. So opponent has a Lightning Bolt. We draw another 3. Man, this curve is so incredibly clunky. Drelf's Messenger. Cryptic number 2 draws back into the Cryptic that our opponent put on top of their deck. Oh, yeah, this is going about as bad as you could imagine. Opponent. I'm actually, like, almost tempted just to concede, more out of frustration than losing. Because we're just, like, locked here. Alright, let's play a Diagraph Captain. I don't even know if our opponent cares to counter it, because they can bounce it with Teferi and draw a card. Boom. Crack this polluted delta. Get a swamp. Soul Diviner is back. What are you gonna do? Teferi control deck. What are you gonna do? Oh, we're gonna crack the Flooded Strand. Uh-oh. Mystic Sanctuary. Put a Cryptic on top of my deck. Cryptic Command. Counter draw, draw cryptic. Good lord, this synergy. Oh, sure. Alright, so opponent, cryptic, draws cryptic. Oh, it's never ending, never ending. Makes me want to puke. Opponent bounces our Diagraph Captain. Mystic Sanctuary probably would have been okay if it wasn't fetchable. It would still be very powerful, but it might be acceptably powerful rather than, good God, what are you doing, Wizards? Powerful. Well, play the Lords. At this point, our opponent might just have a Wrath in hand and might just ignore this and then Wrath. We know they have another Cryptic, probably better known as Flooded Strand. Opponent. Well, we changing things up. Snapcaster. Okay. Opponent's breaking it up a little bit. Snapcaster for Lightning Bolt. Uh-huh. Kills our Diagraph Captain. No. Are we doing this again? Normal Island. All right. The chain of getting cryptic may be over. We'll see. I actually don't think that's true, but you never know. Well, what we know now is we need to get off to a fast start next game. Like, the all 3-drop resilient hand is not what we want against Cryptic Tribal. Opponent passes. We draw more lands. Well, we will play a Geralf's Messenger. Whoa. Oh my god, we resolved a spell. What's the world coming to? Pass the turn. Opponent. Path the Exile. And, yeah, whatever. We're gonna scoop. Oh boy, that was brutal. Alright, well, that was fun. Okay, so, Mystic Sanctuary. The brokenness of Throne of Eldraine is absolutely absurd. Like, it's kind of mind-blowing. Like, it really is. I think we're getting to the point where there's an actual real argument that Throne of Eldraine is the most broken Magic set of all time. And I'm including Urza's Block and all that stuff. Like, I think it's got to at least be in the conversation at that point. Because what we've seen from this set is as soon as the most broken thing gets banned, the next most broken thing is just another card from the set. Like, Oko gets banned, then you have Embercleave be the best card of the set. Now you have more bannings. We have the Great Henge potentially being the best card in Standard. We have Mystic Sanctuary being one of the best cards in Modern. Emery was one of the best cards in Modern before there were bannings. Like, it's really insane. Just going down the list of... Oh my god, that's like Cauldron Familiar, random, uncommon getting banned. It's really absurd, the power level of that set. Like, it is really mind-blowing. Alright, opponent. Playing blue at control. Or Jeskai control, I guess. We will go up Counter Squalls and Spark Harvest. We will go down Fatal Pushes. And I think the big thing is, we need to be on the more aggressive side. We need to have 1-drops. We need to start pressuring. We need to get our opponent low on life before they can start crypticking. So we get to the point where our opponent needs to cryptic to tap our team, and then we can hopefully win with the Aristocrats plan. Like, that's how this game has to play out for us to have a reasonable chance. Being on the play is a step in that direction. And... goodness. So this is another no 1-drop, no Ether Vial hand. It does have 2 sideboard cards, so we can stop a, like, Teferi or something. But I feel like this might just leave us where we were last time, where everything we cast is just going to get countered. Yeah, I think we got to actually mulligan it. Alright. Well, this is better. We will put Watery Grave to the bottom. So we again have the 3-drop tribal hand, but this time we have an Ether Vial, which lets us put things into play in a way that is going to be a lot harder to counter until our opponent just Teferi bounces it before it does anything. But still, we got a glimmer of hope at the moment. Now take up the Vial. I actually feel like with a decent hand, this matchup should be pretty good. We got recursive threats. We have things to punish wraths. But yeah, so far. Also, it might be another case where we're getting punished for not playing Thought Seizes. That's one thing I've realized about this deck the more you play it is I really feel like opponent's going to ramp. I really feel like it should probably have Thoughtseize somewhere in the 75. Like, even if you don't want to main deck it, Thoughtseizes is just such an insane Magic card. You gotta have a really good reason to be playing Black and Modern and be like, nah. Nah, no Thoughtseizes for me. Alright, take up our Vials. Jeez, pass the turn. Oh, this is... Oh, boy. So Teferi's going to come down to our Aether Vial. Then we're going to be back to where we were last game. Ugh, with a handful of 3-drops and nothing to do. It's a Jace. Oh, yup. Getting worse by the second. Ticks up, Jace. Yeah, this is real bad. We don't have anything to put into play, and this has been the nightmare. Well, tick up the Vials. Play the land, untapped. Play Geralf's Messenger, drain you. Pass the turn. Opponent going to Brainstorm. Yep. And Mystic Sanctuary. And Teferi. Alright. So we will Vial in Diregraph Captain. Opponent probably has Paths. Opponent passes. I'll take up the Vial. Polluted Delta. Replay the Vial. Opponent remands. Well, okay. We get to replay the Vial. We get to kill Jace. Actually, should we just go face? You know what? I guess you get to keep your Jace. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna go face. We're gonna try to kill our opponent. Imagine that. Imagine that technique. Try to make our opponent die. Opponent untaps. So I get to Brainstorm and do all their annoying stuff. Yep. Well, let's see if they find a way out. Opponent, Steam Vents. Untap down to 7. Interesting. Opponent's passing. Well, I mean, Violin, Plague Belcher. Counters on Plague Belcher. Crack Polluted Delta. Get a Watery Grave. Tapped. Untap. So I assume our opponent's Cryptic tapping here. Drawing a sack outlet would actually be huge. That might let us burn our opponent out. So Vial stays on 3. Vial goes up to 1. Soul Diviner. Well, go to combat. Are they really playing Settle the Wreckage? Is that actually possible? I mean, I guess they ticked up to Fairy, so they could just have a normal Wrath. Wow, is that actually something we have to be concerned about? Oh, that's so bad. Well, attack our opponent, attack our opponent. I guess if it's Settle, it's Settle. Supreme Verdict. Okay, so we get to Aether Vial, Plague Belcher, and hopefully this Wrath just kills our opponent? Lightning Helix. Well, draw a card. Crypt Breaker. Draw a card. So opponent goes up to 10, but they get drained. They get drained. They get drained. I think this is still good. Is it? So we get a bunch of... Are we 1 life short? Oh my god. 7, 6, 5, 4... 3. Okay, 2 and 0. It's Xaxes. Oh boy. All right. Well, we found a way. We found. Watch them surgical. Well, they can't surgical. They died to surgical. Oh wow. Oh, that was close. Oh. All right. Well, that's the power of Aether Vial. You could see the difference with us actually being able to resolve spells. Being able to actually put creatures on the battlefield improves your odds of winning. Who would have guessed? Yeah, I don't think we have anything else. Run it back. Well, this time we got to do it on the draw. But we did see the recipe for success, and that was still not a great hand. That was not a Gravecrawler beatdown hand, which we would love to, like Aether Vial Gravecrawler. And ooh, we have our Cavern. We just barely. Okay, this we will definitely keep. For sure. Cavern is huge. Bonnet passes. Well, Swamp and Gravecrawler. Go. I actually forgot that we had Caverns in this deck, period. Bonnet. Flagstones. And passes. More lands. Ugh. Well, Polluted Delta. Go to combat. Attack ya. Hit our opponent. Crack Polluted Delta. Kind of want to slow roll the Cavern because of Cleansing Wildfire. This does give our opponent the chance to remand. Alright, opponent does not even care to remand. Sure. Alright, they're just going to Helix it. Yep. Opponent. Back up to 21, unfortunately. Steam Vents untapped. Passes. Less land drawing would be nice. Well, go to combat. Attack our opponent. Cavern on Zombie. And run out a Geralf's Messenger. All right, drawing less lands would be nice. We could really stop drawing lands. Opponent untaps. Island. And passes. Well, all right. Yeah, let's go for it. Diagraph Captain. Land. Combat. Attack you. All right, opponent has a path. Well, thin the deck. Hit our opponent. Jeez. All right, so opponent has all the removal in the West. Yeah. Well, opponent's down to 13. Untaps. Well, go Gravecrawler. Also, please action. Opponent. Flooded Strand. Well, crack Polluted Delta. Thin the deck. Get a Watery Grave. If only Castle Lochwain was fetchable, then it would be fair with how this mystical... Oh my goodness. Worst time for a Aether Vial. literally the worst time. That's essentially like drawing a land, except maybe even worse. It would make it fair, I would say, if we could fetch up Castle Lochwain. That would make it fair with what our opponent can do with Mystical Sanctuary. So opponent's going to remand. Well, we'll play Aether Vial. Again, we will go to combat. We will attack our opponent. Opponent takes it. Watery Grave. Tapped. Pass the turn. So we know our opponent has a Helix. They're going to Helix a Gravecrawler. Go up to 13 again. Flooded Strand. Opponent. Can we draw a zombie? A zombie would be sweet. Zombie gets back Gravecrawler too. We really got to stop drawing lands. Oh boy. All right. Not the ideal time to flood. Ooh. We are a 20 land deck, and I feel like we've drawn all 20 already somehow. Opponent. Legend Rules Flagstones. I mean, I guess we could just play Murderous Rider. It feels bad, though. We'd like to draw an actual real zombie. Well, crack Polluted Delta. Keep trying desperately to thin our deck. Get a Watery Grave. Well, we officially have half of the lands out of our deck, so hopefully that means we draw real cards. Take up Aether Vial. Oh, boy. All right, pass the turn. Yeah, this is disastrous set of circumstances for our deck. Opponent has a Teferi. Bounces the Aether Vial to draw a card. Opponent passes. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's so bad. Cast Murderous Rider. Recast Gravecrawler. Spark Harvest Teferi. Opponent appears to have Cryptic in hand. Oh, more Mystic Sanctuaries. Mystic Sanctuary for Lightning Helix. All right. Well, now we replay Gravecrawler. Play a Swamp. Village Rites Gravecrawler. Replay Gravecrawler. Pass the turn. Counter Squall's not great with this Teferi sticking around, and we know our opponent is going to get another Cryptic. Oh, these Mystic Sanctuaries are just absurd. It is an absurdity. Opponent, Cryptic, again. There's also a Helix in hand. Takes up Teferi. Opponent, passing. Well, we untap. We will Village Rites Gravecrawler. Opponent, Lightning Helix on our Murderous Rider. Well, play Geralf's Messenger. Uncounterably. Drain our opponent. Play Gravecrawler. Play Carrion Feeder. Play Aether Vial. Sack Gravecrawler. Grow Carrion Feeder. Oh, if we could be leaving up this Counter Squall, our life would actually be pretty good. Opponent has another Lightning Helix. Well, alright. Get back the Gravecrawler. Pass the turn. I mean, we're managing our flood well, but we know our opponent has another Cryptic coming. At best for us. Opponent takes up Teferi. If we could get rid of Teferi, our life would actually be pretty good. Well, take a Vial. Another Vial. Well, attack Teferi. Opponent has a massive Shark. Oh, yeah. Oh, this is brutal. Brutally frustrating. So the Shark blocks. Teferi goes to 1, but we still don't get to leave up our... Well, Aether Vial go. Yeah, I think we're going to lose this. I actually feel like this should be a really good matchup, but it has not played out that way. We've had some pretty tough running this match. Opponent gets in with the Shark. Hits us. And the Shark is just a 3-turn clock, which is going to kill us, that I don't think we can reasonably stop. Well, take up the Vials. Can we draw one more land as a rub-in? Gravecrawler. There's a world where that would be really sweet, but we'll go to combat. I don't think there's any way we can win now. I think it's just officially over. Tag to fairy. Tag our opponent. Oh. This feels like another... Well, this feels like another shark to have lethal immediately. Alright, no shark. Well, we'll see. We do have this counter squall in hand. That gives us the tiniest amount of hope. Opponent hits us to 5. Yeah. Well, we will put a Gravecrawler into play. Can we get in this attack? If our opponent has Cryptic plus another counter, or something else, then they got us. Well, take up. Agadim's Awakening. Interesting. Can that do anything? Alright, we go to combat. This might give us a shot. Yeah, go to combat. Opponent. Cryptics. We countersquall the Cryptic. And opponent remands the countersquall. So if we cast it again, and our opponent has Lightning Bolt on our Lord, we get in for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus 2. Alright. Well, countersquall? Combat? Attack you? Oh, are we actually gonna win this? Opponent has a bolt, but it's still lethal! The countersquall damage! Wow! Oh boy, we flooded out so hard! But we got there in the end! Wow! I did not think we had a chance there. Well, I mean, our deck, even with arguably not very good running for the matchup, was able to take down the control deck, which means we went 4-1. We get 5 treasure chests open. The kids are definitely eating. Our only loss was to Oops All Spells, which, in all honesty, we're never going to beat that deck. Like, we're just hoping they beat themselves. There's no way, like, if the match plays out well for both players, we just do not have the tools to beat that. So we can't even feel too bad about that. Like, maybe we could add Thoughtseize to the sideboard or something, but really there isn't much we can do about that. Well, Crag 1. Mythos of Snapdax Flame Split. I like Flame Split. It's not worth anything, but the Dragon decks, when this was in Standard, were super fun. Alright. Next up, we get 4 more. Come on. Something big, something good. Maelstrom. Well, I guess technically that's big. I don't know about good. 85 play points is actually good. That's $8.50. Almost enough to do a draft. Like, just under enough to do a draft. Well, alright, 3 to go. What do we get? Sweet promo, but of a random common. Everyone's favorite Sharding Sphinx. How did they name it that? Did they not realize that their game, played by a lot of young males, would make fun of this name for the next 10, 15 years? Apparently not. Apparently they didn't see it at the time, but good old Sharding Sphinx. Alright. 2 more to go. Conjurer's Closet, Enigma Thief. I wonder if that's worth anything. I mean, sometimes the random commander cards are worth something. Worth looking up at least. It's probably not, because I don't think anyone plays it, but Enigma Thief is 6 sets. So, alright, 1 more shot. Can we get something good? These chests haven't been good except for those play points. Ooh. I do love me some Huntmaster. Huntmaster's a card that I wish was good enough for Modern. I mean, maybe it is, but really, it's just such a sweet card. One of the, man, originally Innistrad block was so good. It was just so good. This card is really powerful, but it's not like, I don't know, breaking the game. It's like, compare this to Omnath or something. Compared to Omnath, this was the Chase Mythic that saw a ton of play, even sees Modern play. You get a 2-2 that makes a 2-2 when it comes into play, and you gain a little bit of life, and then if it transforms, you get a 4-4 and get to deal 2 damage to something. Maybe you get another wolf in the future. Like, you have to actually not only play this and have it live and have other conditions met for it to flip. Like, Omnath does way more than this by playing a single land drop. Like, a single fetch land drop, for sure. Like, you get way more value out of Omnath. So you can kind of see the progression of Chase 4-drop Mythics, but man, I wish Huntmaster was still sweet, because I love this card. It's just such a sweet card, but, well, alright. I mean, I guess we'll talk about it in the wrap-up, but 4-1's not bad with the zombies. Sweet. Yeah, be right back with the wrap-up. So what did we learn this week about blue-black zombies in Modern? And the deck felt really good. We played a league, we went 4-1, and really, it went kind of how we expected going into it. Against any sort of fair deck, playing against humans, like creature-based decks, we played against a Primeval Titan, lands, Field of the Dead deck, we played against blue-white control. Our deck felt great in those matchups. Against blue-white control, we massively flooded out. We had pretty bad, clunky hands, and we were still able to pick up the win to get the 4-1 finish. So our deck really shines in any sort of fair matchup, and Modern isn't a pretty fair place right now. On the other hand, our one loss was to Oops All Spells, and I think that kind of exemplifies how much our deck struggles against unfair decks. Against unfair decks, we don't have a fast enough clock to race something like Oops All Spells or Storms or maybe even Ad Nauseam. Like, our clock isn't that fast. We have a very resilient clock, and we're going to like chipping in for damage and then finishing the game with our sacrifice plan. But we're not going to just win by turn 3 or something. That's not what our deck is about. And we oddly don't have very good interaction for those matchups. Like, yeah, we got some counter squalls. Ceremonious Rejection is good against like Tron-style decks, maybe some other artifact decks, but for the most part, it's really strange to not have any discard in our 75, to have pretty minimal counters, and I feel like the sideboard of this deck, with the 4 sweepers, essentially, with Force of Despair, Bantu's Last Reckoning, with the Spark Harvest, with the Feed the Swarm, is kind of geared towards improving our already good matchups, like giving us even more removal to fight against the fair decks, when maybe we could dedicate some more of those slots to the unfair matchups. I don't think we gotta go too far, because obviously Modern's in a fair place, so we're mostly going to play against fair decks, but it would be nice to have a little bit more to fight against the unfair decks, because I felt like we were mostly just very close to drawing dead against, like, Oops All Spells, for example. We're kind of just hoping our opponent fizzles and beats themselves and has a bad hand and mulligans too much, but we're not actually going to stop them from doing their thing. So that would be my one piece of criticism. But the main deck of this deck is really sweet. I love the beatdown plan. I also love the synergy plan, like Soul Divider, resetting Drops Messenger, or even just drawing an extra card each turn with Ether Vial was really cool. Carrion Feeder, Shenanigans are really powerful. We got some really sweet Aristocrat skills. So while I think that the sideboard could probably be improved a little bit, overall, pretty happy with how the deck turned out. Like, the unfair matchups are going to be bad, but the fair matchups are really good, and the deck is super fun to play. So, if you like zombies, if you like kind of aristocrat synergies, but don't want to be fully dedicated to the sacrifice plan, and also want to be able to just, like, play some creatures and beat down sometimes, seems like a pretty legit option for Modern. So, that's Blue Black Zombies. That's our bunch of brew for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.
Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.